In today's video, I'm going to be designing some brand new business cards. Here are a couple of my old business cards. As you can see, there's a running theme. Both of these business card designs have vehicles on, and that is because my name's Michael Driver, and if I didn't have a vehicle on my business card, it would be a huge missed opportunity. Now I want to carry on with that theme, and that's what we're going to do in this video. Now, a while back, I asked my followers over on Instagram what they did with their business cards that they picked up at art fairs, and the answers were pretty confusing. One person said that they used them to floss their teeth, which is kind of unsettling. Another person said that they burnt them and prayed for the downfall of other illustrators. And the last person said that they put them in tiny frames and stuck them on their skirting boards so mice could see them, which is very sweet. But none of these really use business cards in the way that they're meant to be used. That's got me thinking, maybe I should design a business card that doesn't fit the normal specs. Like I said in my last video, if you haven't watched it, please feel free to watch it after you finish watching this video. I love collecting things, and my name's Michael Driver, so it feels only right to design some sort of collectible business card that is a car. Now, I've got no experience making nets, so what I'm gonna do is grab a net from Google, print it out, make some adjustments, and see how we get on with it.
So I found a net pretty quickly that looks like it should be good. I'm not quite happy with the back end of the card, so what I'm going to do is make an edit to it and test the net out. I don't personally have a printer, and so I headed to the library to print the first net off. As you can see, the first version is really rough and ready. I just wanted to test the shape and the size and look for any imperfections. In putting this together, I've realised that there is a really strange flap that was included in the initial net, so the next iteration I'm going to need to get rid of this. So this is the next iteration. You can see that I've worked it up further. You can see that I've edited out the additional flap. I've also added a few bits at the top and some scuff marks and some fire. I'm still not entirely sure where I'm going to put the actual business card details, but I'll figure that out. Okay, so it's time to build the new design and check for any issues. For some reason, the printer printed out the artwork at half the size, which has made me reconsider the size I'm actually eventually going to print this. Rather than printing this design at A4, I think I'm going to print it at A5. Whilst this was initially really annoying, this was a nice happy accident that I stumbled across through making. Here's the fully built car. There is a slight issue with all the lights which don't seem to line up. This was an issue I thought I'd sussed out whilst designing the car, but clearly I've got it wrong because not a single light lines up. This is a problem that I'll need to fix in the next version. This is the final design. I've now corrected all of the lights, which took ages to sort. I've also laid out some types so it's obvious to potential customers who see these business cards at art markets that they are in fact business cards. The remainder of the business card details will sit on the underside of the car. It's now time to go to the print studio and test out some paperweights.
Okay, I'm now in the print studio. Today, what I'm going to be doing is testing the design on all these paper stocks that I received from John Purcell Paper Co. Let's get to it.
So here I am laying out some old scrap paper. This will block the holes on the print bed. This should improve the quality of the suction and should mean that prints won't get stuck to the underside of the screen when I'm printing. If the artwork does get stuck to the underside of the screen, it can cause all sorts of issues, but mainly it'll just make my job harder and much slower. Now, the reason I've got a shipment of paper from John Purcell Paper Company is due to the fact that the artwork needs to sit on the right thickness of paper. If the paper is too thick, it'll be hard to fold and it won't hold its shape. And if it's too flimsy, it will have the opposite effect, and the car won't be able to hold its own weight. It is really important for me to figure out what's the right paperweight for this project, especially when I'm putting as much effort in as I am. I know through working with printer paper that printer paper is far too flimsy, so I've opted for paper samples that are between 150 GSM and 350 GSM in weight. I won't know which is the right thickness until I get back to my studio and build some of these cars.
Right, I've finished printing. What I'm going to do now is head back to the other studio and build some of these cars.
So we have three different types of paperweight. We have 315 GSM, 250 GSM, and 160 GSM. All I need to do is build them and see which one is right for the print project, and then place an order. Because making each individual car takes about 35 minutes, I've comped together me making all three of the cars into one short montage. This is the finished car that we're going to move forward with. This is on 250 GSM. 315 GSM was way too thick, and 160 GSM just didn't feel like it was thick enough.
Okay, the design is now finished and I've placed an order with John Purcell Paper Co. for a load of paper. The next time you'll see me, I'll be in the print studio and we'll be ready to start screen printing these business cards. I'll catch you in a minute. Alright, it's day one in the print studio. It's already fairly late in the day, it's about 3 o'clock, so I'll only probably have time to get the first layer down on these business cards, but let's see how we go. I'll catch you guys at the end of the day.
I always get a bit anxious when I go printing. It feels like there's a chance that everything will go wrong and I'll have wasted a ton of money and time. I think this anxiety is because of two reasons. The first reason is that making stuff with my hands still feels really alien. So much of my commercial practice relies on the constant safety net of digital making. The other reason is that because I'm a fairly busy illustrator and pursuing printmaking is a thing that I do in my spare time, I often have to squeeze my working week to be able to come printing, and so there's often a lot of pressure to finish the day with something to show for it. This feeling usually subsides once I'm deep in the printing process, and I'm doing nothing but being totally present.
That's the end of day one of printing the business cards. I managed to get one layer done on these business cards as expected. It is now quite late, it's now 8:30, so I'm gonna pack up, head home, and I'll be back in the studio tomorrow morning to hopefully get this business card finished.
It's day 2 of printing. I started by taking all of the prints off the drying rack and stacking them so it was easy to work through the huge stack of paper that I needed to print. This layer should print fairly easily because it has a really low surface area. It will, however, take a fair amount of time due to the fact that I'll need to check the registration on each print as I go. I really like a very crisply registered image. Friends will often joke that it's the imperfections that make screen printing great, but I think it's important to be hard on myself when it comes to the technical side of screen printing.
That's the end of day 2 in the print studio, and I managed to get the next layer down on these business cards. It's taken a little bit of time to get all the images registered, but it is what it is. I'll be back in tomorrow to hopefully get this finished. I'll catch you tomorrow.
It's day 3 of printing. I started the day by laying out the type on the back of the print. I needed to make sure that the type was directly in the centre of the paper so that when you cut the car out, none of the details are trimmed off. Otherwise, it doesn't really work as a business card. You can see that I'm wearing ear defenders as I'm printing. This is often because I wear them when I'm stripping screens to protect my ears. The jet wash is very loud, particularly when the water is hitting the screen. There's no other reason as to why I'm wearing these other than that I've just forgot to take them off. I do enjoy not really being able to hear anything though. The orange layer went down really nicely. Now I've just got to move on to the black layer. I've managed to work through the backside fairly quickly. This is because the registration is fairly loose. Nothing needs to be pinpoint accurate, which is great considering that I'm hand printing 250 of these business cards.
By the time I finished printing, the viscosity of the ink had changed significantly. By the end of the day, it felt like I was printing with melted chocolate. If it was any warmer in the print studio, I would have ran into some serious issues that would have slowed me down massively. It gets very hot in the summer in the print studio, and because we don't have any air conditioning, it becomes increasingly harder to print here in the warmer months.
I've now finished printing the business cards. All I need to do now is to make one to show it off. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like and subscribe. If you want one of these business cards, I'll be adding them to every single shop order. So all you need to do is place an order in my shop. There's a link to my shop in the description of this video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Here is the finished business card.